Hello, everyone. Welcome to the panel session. I'm Yuka Tanimoto, Executive Director and Managing Editor of Forbes Japan Web Editorial Team. I will be a moderator of this session, and this session will be titled Global Culturepreneurs. Can culture become a business? Personally, I'm deeply impressed that we are now in an era where that we can have a session with this title. So please look at this slide. This is the cover page of Forbes Japan, to which I belong, which was released last September, I remember, 2023. Ryo Iwamoto, he's supposed to be here, but he can't make it, unfortunately, and he's also in the photo. And that was the first feature that focused on the culturepreneur for us, for Japan. First of all, what is culturepreneur? It is a combined word, combine the words culture and entrepreneurs, and refer to cultural entrepreneurs who attempt to realize a rich world, developing innovative businesses that never exist before through activities in the cultural and the creative fields. So please look at these slides. These are we selected the culturepreneurs, 30 culturepreneurs. You can see that Ryo Iwamoto, and he is wearing a kimono, and he is CEO and founder of Tea Room, Urasenke Tea Room. And also Uemachi-san. Uemachi-san is from Seka. Yes. And other slide. And next slide is here. And you can see the Kuwata-san. Kuwata-san is wearing the black half sleeve shirt, and he's a ceramist artist. And also the Kitagawa-san. Kitagawa-san is the woman, and she's from Kien, and she's making the kimono. And also, next slide. And maybe you know that he's a very famous guy, and Nishihata-san. Nishihata-san is a gardener, and he called himself as a plant hunter. And also, Nara-san is also the really famous, famous person. And also the Teranishi-san. Teranishi-san is from the Mizen. And then the Miky-san, Alissa is here. And she will be speaking today on a short notice. Thank you very much for coming, Alissa-san. And also the Honma-san is there, and a Sanu founder. And Sanu is a subscription business for the rental villa. These were the culturepreneur Forbes Japan selected. And why now culturepreneur? So in many parts of Japan, the traditional technique and crafts passed down by artisans are disappearing due to a lack of skilled workers. Culturepreneurs are people who recognize the value of these cultural assets and stand up to bring them back to life with their own hand. We, Forbes Japan, believe that such effort can become a big movement by combining with the other industry and covering needs, and that this could lead to a new possibility for the Japanese economy in the future. But to be honest with you, actually at first everyone in editorial team, including me, we are really skeptical whether our customers, I mean the readers, would actually buy a feature of culturepreneurs. But to our surprise, it sold very well as soon as it was released, and has since become one of the Forbes Japan's most popular contents, and then continuing to attract attention. In this context, I would like to proceed with this session with two Japanese culturepreneurs who are truly active in the world. Now let me introduce the audience to our wonderful, wonderful panelists, Ms. Mio Asatani, CEO at Culturepreneur, and Ms. Alissa Miky, founder and CEO at Aqua Theon. Ladies, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for joining us. So, first of all, before we begin our discussion, I would like to each of our guests to introduce themselves, including our introduction of their work and also what they have been working on. So, Mio-san, could you go first, please?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Mio, and I'm the CEO of Culturepreneur. So just to kind of give you a quick intro about myself before I get into the business side of Culturepreneur. I was born in Japan, but I lived abroad in the UK and the US until I was 18, and I came back to Japan for college. And after college, I went to Deloitte Consulting and worked as a management consultant for almost 5 years. And after which I quit my job and pursued MBA at Columbia Business School in New York. That was when I started thinking about this idea because I am personally, so my hobby is going to galleries and museums and looking at art. But when I actually decided to buy my first piece of art and graduate from buying IKEA prints and posters, I realized how difficult that was. And so, you know, New York being the center of culture and art, I thought that was ridiculous how difficult it is to find an artist that I like and be able to afford that. So that's kind of how I decided to found Culturepreneur, which offers art rental subscription for fine art. So by paying a monthly fee starting from $38 per month to $348 per month, you can own an artwork. How it works is we have an online website where we feature over 300 artists and over 4,000 artworks, and you can choose an artwork that you like. The artwork will be delivered to you, installed if you prefer, and you can enjoy the artworks as long as you want. You pay the set subscription fee, and you can swap it out with a new one if you want to. You can return it if you no longer want it. And if you do decide to purchase the artworks that you have, then the rental fees are credited toward the purchase price, so you just pay the difference. So it's kind of like loaning a car or a house. So on the artist, because it's a two-sided marketplace, I'm going to talk about both sides. First, the artists. Many artists are good at communicating visually through their artworks, but not necessarily have the communication skill or the ability to promote themselves in PR and do the sales to sell their work. So they want someone like us to promote their work, talk about their artworks, and sell their works to the clients. And so what we do is we create content and context for their work, and we go into their studio, we create bio, artist statement, and create videos and photographs that we stream online on different channels. Sorry, this is in Japanese, but the one thing that I would say is that in US, the artists that are represented by galleries and museums, only 13% are women artists, not even half. Why is that? Because historically, women artists have been marginalized and not represented, and their works have been historically devalued. So that's why a lot of galleries don't have women artists. At auction houses, their artworks go for a much lower price compared to the works by male artists. So that's why we try to have more artists on our platform, and currently over 65% of our artists are women. On the customer side, we have a lot of young collectors who are usually in their 30s to 40s who want to buy their first piece of art, and like myself, they want to graduate from buying IKEA prints and mass-produced prints. And so it's usually their first piece of art that they buy at Purina, and from there they become a fan of the artist and continue buying the same artwork, the artworks from the same artist. Then they become a patron, and they try to help out the artists to develop their careers as artists. So that's on the B2C side. I created a service that I personally wanted. So we started off as a B2C. We did really well during COVID, but after COVID, we started seeing a lot of growth and demand from the B2B side. So we worked with a lot of corporate clients, including office, and the real estate, banks, hotels, sometimes they want to just have, they want to rent artworks because they don't want to hold assets, and they would rather want to expense the rental fees so that they would get the tax benefits. On the real estate, they use artworks as a way to brand themselves to target specific high-end clients. They want to rotate artworks every 3 months. So there are different ways that these corporate clients are utilizing art to brand themselves and acquire the clients that they want. And these are the examples. This is a Lee Equity. It's a private equity in New York. They have artworks that are rotating in their office. And this is Prenuvo. It's an MRI startup that have a lot of chains in the US. We did the first headquarter in New York, and they're going to be expanding, and we did their clinic. But that's kind of the gist of the Purina. Passing on to Alissa.
Thank you very much, Miyo-san. So now let's move on to the Alissa-san part. Alissa-san, so now microphone is yours.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Alissa Miky, founder CEO of Aquathian. Could you please, show my slide? Perfect. Thank you so much. Before explaining about my company, let me also introduce a little bit about myself. I was born in New York, grew up until there, 9 years old, and went back to Japan, lived until 27 years old. The biggest moment of my life, I have two sad stories. One is my far relative's death. He was struggle with diabetes in the States. And unfortunately, he couldn't have a great resource and great, income, so he couldn't manage his condition. And secondly, I also lost my best friend. She was like me. She was born in the States, grew up until high school, went back to Japan for the university, and she became a lawyer. However, she was struggle being as a woman in Japan. So she decided to end her life by herself, which was so sad. I was like struggle as a Japanese woman too. I don't know what to do. What should I do? But one day I realized that, Japan has a wonderful technology, especially in the seaweed. And that's why I decided to establish Aquathian 1.5 years ago in LA. Could you please move on to the next slide? So we Aquathian focus on the marine plant-based technology company. Next slide, please. Especially, we are focused in two categories. One, medical industrial, and second is healthy food market. Next slide, please. The reason why I really love marine plants is because it's so rare ingredients that they have 3 elements, such as sustainable, health, and multiple application, especially in the business, which is really an advantage. Next slide, please. For the sustainability point of view, do you know that marine plants can grow 11 inches a day? Super fast, super rational. And then also, we don't have to use any soils or fresh water to grow the seaweed. Next slide, please. On a health perspective, maybe a lot of Japanese people know that seaweed is really good for our gut health. And because of that, we have a lot of medical results that is good for diabetes, losing cholesterol, losing blood pressure, and so many health benefits. Next slide, please. For the business perspective, it is really important that we have a multiple opportunities in the ingredients business. But in seaweed, we can create starting from candy, beverage, soup, supplement, hair care, skincare, medical capsule, edible plastic. Even nowadays, we can create clothes, walls, and glasses from the seaweed. Next slide, please. And the most happiest part of my business is Japan is the leading country of the seaweed because we have 1600 years history. Next slide, please. So nowadays, Aquatheon Aquatheon is cooperating with multiple local governments or local famous companies such as Ina Food, which has $200 million revenue only in Japanese market. We are the partnership. We actually sell their ingredients in the States. And then on top of that, Aquatheon, we create our own technology to create several finished product in the CPZ area. So nowadays we have 1,500 SKUs of the seaweed powder plus several patents to cover multiple business applications. Next slide, please. But the problem is, people in the States, they don't know the use case of the seaweed. They don't understand what's the benefit of the seaweed. That's why we decided to invest for to prove the market, and we started from the seaweed candy, Misaki, Tokyo. Next slide, please. This is the vegan, gluten-free, no additive, natural seaweed candy. But for our scientific research, we know that our seaweed is the #1 flavorful seaweed candy in this earth right now. Next slide, please. And not only that, we are really proud of our marketing progress, that we have 1.4 million followers in TikTok with no advertisement, growing in 3 years. We also work with Kim Kardashian. A lot of media cover our product and brands with no advertisement. It all came from organic. Next slide, please. But in addition to that, we decided to expand our possibility to starting from beverage. This Umi is American first red algae-based fruit juice that is really tasty, and we're going to launch this beverage this summer. And starting from nationwide, unfortunately I cannot say the retail names, but we're gonna sell our product nationwide soon. Next slide, please. And in addition to that, we have a tequila ball technology. Please, next slide, please. That we can cover the high alcohol such as tequila, gin, whiskey with low pH such as orange juice, lemon juice in multiple shapes such as heart, star, or even skulls. So through this patent, now we are creating a project with one of the biggest liquor company globally to utilize our possibility in the international market. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to pass to Yuka-san.
Thank you. Thank you so much for wonderful, wonderful presentation for both of ladies. So now let's move to the discussion part. So as I mentioned earlier, the Culturepreneur features has received a great response, not from not our customers, but also the business side and also the local governments. So, and this content is becoming very, very popular right now. So how do you see this reaction as a Culturepreneur? And why do you think is behind this popularity? And also why is everyone so interested in culture right now? So Miu-san, what do you think?
Okay, I'll give it a try. So I think culture is interesting. It already has some kind of content in it, right? So it already has a branding, it has a history. That is like what makes something interesting. And so, there are entrepreneurs who are trying to monetize and make a business out of the culture, and they're obviously succeeding. And I think also at the same time, there are people, audiences, users, consumers that are interested in investing in consuming culture rather than just focusing on the functionality of a product. Talking from my perspective, as someone who's running an art business, why do people want to have artworks on their walls. In Japan, when I do a little bit of sale to offices, sometimes people will tell me, oh, like what is the point of hanging an artwork in an office? Is it going to increase sale? Is it going to increase revenue? Obviously, no. But in the U.S., especially in New York, it's important to create, first of all, a work environment that is enriched with, that is considerate of employees' well-being and wellness, especially after COVID. And a lot of employers think that having artworks is a way to kind of create that. And at the same time, these businesses, these companies come to Curina because they want to support artists. They want to have artworks that kind of go with the interior design of the office and the space that they're looking to design, but also at the same time, they oftentimes give us requirements for the artists. Like, for example, if it's a cosmetic company, they want to support female artists because they are selling their products to women. And so they want to show that they are supporting women artists. Or sometimes, especially during Black Lives Matter, a lot of companies came to us because they were looking for Black artists to support. So there are ways, so these companies are very cognizant of how the public is seeing these companies. They're looking at them and seeing how they're supporting the local artist community and also sort of minority groups. So it's an important way to show that they are aware of their responsibility to kind of support these groups.
Thank you, Mio-san. What about Alissa-san? So what do you think? So what is your idea for the same question?
Yeah, so I think there's like two big reasons. One is about especially in Japan, we are already rich. Everybody has a safe environment. We don't have to worry about the next day, hunger. Most of the people. So as the materials requirement, we already cover the basic line, and now a lot of people are looking for how to use our life and to achieve, or how can we kick back to the community. Those kind of needs are the high right now. I think that's one of the biggest reasons. And secondly, we human already understand about the AI is coming really closely. So did you see the open AI new function which was launched 4 days ago? Which was Yuka-san, did you see that news about it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so crazy that we don't have to use any interpreter anymore. There's so many, system can be work. And then through that AI, society, people already know that the most of the culture is going to be blind quickly because of AI. The language barrier is going to, the lots of language barrier is going to be gone. So that means we can communicate more quickly. And then now most of the culture is going to be laying in this earth. We probably feel that. And then in that future, what is going to be the most important thing is how can we value up as an individual? And now people are thinking of how can we protect our culture as our uniqueness. So that's why, because of those reasons, people are now curious about how can we do a business with culture. But there's a lot of difficulty because a culture business, most of the time they're too conservative, or most of the time the culture business are labor intensive. So people are still struggle how to make how to adjust a culture business into the capitalism way. That I thought.
Thank you very much. So now, Culturepreneurs, so as I mentioned, so now are really attracting a great deal of attention in Japan. So the reason why the term Culturepreneur and also the culture business has attracted so much attention is because culture and the business were originally not so easily connected. So that's why I think that now it's really popular right now. So, but the Culturepreneurs, including the two of you, are attempting to the merge of the two, right? The culture and the business, right? So what do you think of the difficulties and also the struggles in turning the culture field into a business? So what are the challenges and the struggles of starting the business in the field of culture? So what about Miu-san?
I think the difficulty is that a lot of people that are in culture or in arts, culture at large, they don't necessarily, well, probably in the past, they probably didn't have the necessary business skills or the management skills to monetize and make it into a business. Like I said before, for Kirina, a lot of artists don't have the business skills to, brand themselves as an artist, tell their stories, and sell their work. And so that's why they have been depending on the galleries. And now that gallery system is kind of, not working anymore as it was before, and a lot of people want to buy everything, including art, online. They don't want to go to a retail store anymore. The galleries are navigating new ways to sell their work. And artists also are, they're kind of like, okay, rather than just being super dependent on galleries, they can use Instagram, they can use Twitter, or they can come to, there are multiple online marketplaces. There's Kirina, there's Artsy, there's Sachi Art. There are multiple online marketplaces to sell their work. So they're kind of expanding their channels. And so that's why I think we see more of these cultural businesses that are flourishing. There are, I think, kind of just to summarize, I think people in the culture maybe necessarily didn't have the management skills, but with the opening up the market and like someone like me coming from the external, I wasn't in the art business before, but someone from the outside of the industry coming in and creating a business, that's why there are more cultural businesses coming up right now.
Thank you. So Alissa, what about you? So any challenges for your job? I mean, for your the work as a culturepreneur?
Yes, so I already mentioned a little bit briefly, but what I think is how can we combine the culture into business? That's the really difficult part, because as I mentioned that most of the culture business is really labor intense. So it doesn't fit with a scalable, it's not going to be a quick scale business most of the time. Because I truly understand that, because I used to work in the #1 Japanese traditional e-commerce and doing a new business. So I totally get the point. And then also in addition to that, the people who work in culture, especially the traditional industrial side, people are so conservative. Like, for example, this is now the funny story for me, like right now. But when I start negotiated with Ina Food, it took 2 years to get one small deal. So that span, startup never exists. And then especially for the startup, we have a destiny that we need to kick back to our investor in 10 years. So we're not doing the kind of a family business or the small business. We have a destiny that we need to grow a company like $400 million revenue in 10 years with the culture. Most of the time it's super tough. But what I decided to do is, what I believe that unfortunately there's not all the culture we can protect. But I decided that how I wanted to create that kind of a startup way was a culture business. So that's why I decided to do more technology, which is basically came from all culture that has 1600 years history. So it was a little bit difficult for me myself to digest. I really wanted to protect the craftsmen or the artists, but the reality is I cannot make that capital right now. So that's why I decided to more focus on the success in a startup way. And for my next challenge, I definitely wanted, if I get more money, become rich, I wanted to support more craftsmen and the artists. That's my second challenge. To digest that, I can I decided to little bit focus on more business success.
Thank you. So I really want to ask you both of ladies. We have a lot of the resources of culture and craftsmanship and a lot of the treasure in Japan, but we are really behind to the making the value or money from those fields, right? So is there any the tips or the advice for the person who really want to become a culture planner in the future? So what is needed for the becoming the culture planner? So do you have any advice for them? Miky-san, Alissa-san, what do you think?
Yes, definitely. So again, I work for this industry for more than 10 years, and one of the biggest advice is global localization is one of the key elements. So of course, we have a wonderful like traditional culture, like a lot of craftsmen caring about like a tiny details. But I really respect that. Because of that, we have our own culture and unique technology. But on the same time, like for example, this was actually my biggest aha moment when I went to Israel and I tried a new sweet over there. It was cheese with pistachio with honey. And my Israeli friends always told me that, hey, Alissa, this is really delicious. Try it. But honestly, I couldn't, enjoy for the first second. When I put that in my mouth, yes, it was dramatically changed, but it was a little bit, how to say, moment that I cannot grab that sweet like quickly. It is because I don't have that culture. I don't have that food culture in my life. So a lot of people has a different culture expectation. Then what we need to do is, of course, we need to appreciate it, and of course we need to respect our culture. But on the same time, we also need to figure out how can we adjust their culture too. I think one of the biggest success is definitely sushi. So nowadays, a lot of people love crazy with sushi. Like, oh, like a lot of my American friends told me that, oh, I really wanted to go to Japan. I wanted to eat sushi. But about like 20 years ago, when I eat nori, the seaweed, people don't like it. But what was the group between the real sushi versus that culture is definitely the California roll. Of course, a lot of Japanese people think that, ooh, California roll is like so different. It's like not Japanese food. But that was a really important element to expand the new people and then also expand the interest too. So definitely global localization is the key to expand our business. And I think that Japanese should take that responsibility to decide which part do we want to like explain, which part we can make it a little bit hide.
Good comment. Thank you very much, Alissa-san. So what about you? So Mio-san, so do you have any advice for not only the culturepreneur and also the supporter for the culture?
So I would say I think when I look at the traditional craftsmanship of Japan, like kimono or obi or whatever it is, right? Like, and how can this be an industry? How can this be a business? I think it's the same thing that we say about, businesses in general. Like it applies, like innovator's dilemma. Like you need to constantly innovate yourself, and if you can't innovate yourself within, you try to collaborate with external institutions, you try to bring in external consultants maybe, but you have to constantly evolve and adapt to the market. And like, since I'm touching on the kimono or the traditional craftsmanship in Japan, what is lacking is that, I think. Like, you can't expect people to continue buying kimono. So you might have to, re-innovate yourself. Look at, we talked about Hermes in France. They used to produce equipments that are necessary for horseback riding. People are not riding horses anymore. People are driving cars, and you don't need these horseback riding equipment. Then what did they create? They created bags with high quality leather, and now they are this huge luxury brand in France that are recognized in the world. But what about Japan? Japan has a long history and very high craftsmanship, but it's not. We don't have a brand that is so widely recognized as much as Hermes is. So we need to, I'm not going to say that, the people that are in the kimono industry they have the sole responsibility to rebrand themselves and re-innovate. Obviously, they need to be open to new ideas, new people, younger people that are coming into the industry, and at the same time, like the government, the government needs to commit, not just the money, but they need to commit to a certain time frame to build this industry as an industry, because it's not, I think culture is so important as an asset to Japan. It's an asset. You need to understand, first of all, that it's an asset to the country. And once you recognize it as an asset, you recognize the importance of investing, right? Not the money, the people. You can't expect it to turn it into a business within like 1 or 2 years. You have to commit to like a decade or 2 decades. And like you have to have a sense of urgency that these, kimono craftsmen, these people that are in this industry, they're getting older, and like you may not, like, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, like you might not have, a high quality kimono. What are you going to do about that? So I think, I realize like I said a lot of things, but like, so the industry itself, it has to renovate itself. The government needs to have like a commitment and like infrastructure to support this as an industry. You cannot expect the culture to be monetized and become an industry by itself, is my opinion.
Really great advice. Thank you very much. So maybe this is the last question. So when I think about the culturepreneur and the culture business, so it's like it's kind of it seems like so we need to turn the two wheels, like innovation and the tradition, innovation and the tradition. So it's kind of really difficult to the turn those two wheels. So how do you balance the tradition and the innovation? So how do you do for the turning and the two wheels? So what about Alissa-san?
Oh, that's a great call. To be honest, I'm still struggle. I don't know the answer yet. But I actually have two hypotheses right now. Is like most of the people who really care about tradition, like let them think about like a conservative like tradition way. Because of them, that's why we can build up the history. So they're really good at that. But some people, not all of them, but like some, just like only like 1% or 2%, that's probably enough. Those people can open a new opportunity. So probably requesting them into innovative way, it's really tough. Those kind of people are so different. So what I think is like let's cooperate together. That's a one hypothesis to manage the balance. And secondly, on the same time, probably there's no answer for the balance wise, but my understanding of the culture business is definitely we need to protect as a capitalism. So I always focus, of course I appreciate the culture, but on the same time, my mission is I need to grow this company, and I need to, once my company become bigger, my part of my revenue is going back to the local Japanese government. So most of the local government, they can only earn the new money from the tourists. but which is so tough because they need to like, talk with new like, customer every day. But if they build the business like strong relationship internationally, I thought that that's also gonna help them. So I'm so sorry I cannot like answer your question directly. Because I'm still struggle. But my understanding is a like separate the people, collaborated. That's one thing. And secondly, you know, just feel the guts. And especially my gut is making the company bigger. And I believe that going back to the culture grow. So I'm so sorry again, but that's my answer for this question.
All right, thank you very much, Alissa-san. So what about your idea, Neo-san?
Okay, so I think, yes, it is a difficult question, but I think you have to define what is the core value that you want to maintain and pass on to the next generation, right? So, for example, like kimono, okay, so do we really have to keep wearing the same, a wrapping, that style? Do we have to keep that? Maybe not. What about the design? Maybe not. So I think for me personally, I'm sure other people might disagree, but that's fine. For me, the core value of kimono that you have to pass on and you have to keep, that you have to pass on to the next generation is the technology, the skill, the craftsmanship of orimono. So that is the core value of that kimono that needs to be protected. And as long as that is kept, the other aspect can be changed according to the market. And the same thing can be said about matcha maybe, right? Like so green tea, we used to drink matcha in a very formal setting, but it became nowadays you can drink matcha frappuccino at Starbucks. Is that really tea, green tea? Maybe not from some other people's perspective, but maybe the core value of that might be the people that are creating, that are in the production side, the supply side of green tea. Maybe that's what we need to protect. So I think the important thing for each category of the product is to define the core value that cannot be mimicked. That is the core competitive advantage for each of the product, and then pass that on and protect.
Thank you very much. So, so we have running out of the time. So, please, quick last comment for the audience. Mio-san, go first, please.
Sure. So, I'm so glad that this panel is actually happening on culture. It's rare to see. It's pretty easy to have a fintech panel or AI panel. So I'm very glad that the organizers decided to do a panel, and I hope that there are more investors that believe in the power of culture and art, because we are proving, both of us are proving that this could be monetized and this could bring in the money for the creators and the artists, and it is important as an industry, and it can make money. So it is important for investors and the VCs to understand the importance and significance of investing in this field.
Thank you. Alissa-san, if you please.
Yes, again, thank you very much for having me. Unfortunately, because of the 2024, we don't have Dokodemo Doa, which is created by Doraemon. I wish I had that technology and jump into Tokyo right now. But thank you very much for having me. One thing I would love to say to everybody is culture is definitely the future, especially again in the AI society. We're gonna be similar really quickly. So all we have to do is how can we protect our culture as our uniqueness? And those stuff it cannot build in 1 day or 2 days. We human need to care about our individual culture by our own, and that's gonna be the future value. That's gonna be the future treasure. So let's work together. And there's a lot of difficulty, yes, but you're gonna enjoy this moment. So I cannot wait to see the future Culturepreneur and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Alissa-san. So we got a lot of tips from this guest. So I hope that this session was an opportunity for everyone here to further support of the culture of Japan. Again, thank you very much, Mio-san and Alissa-san. Please give a big round of applause to them. Thank you very much. Thank you.